Okay, so before we call it and end it, I really want to ask you about your YouTube
Yes.
watching of people play video games. I just think it's the coolest thing ever. So, can you talk a little bit about how you like to? I want to call it like a guilty pleasure, but like how you like to watch other people play video games on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm like one of those teenagers that love to do that because that's a teenage thing, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I started doing that. I think it was during my maternity leave with hate. No, it's a lie. I done it a couple times before when I actually played video games because I wanted help with some parts that I couldn't get through. And so a few of them I was like, oh, these. I think there was one person I found that I was watching his stuff to try to navigate a video game I was playing before I even had kids. And I remember thinking like, oh, he's kind of cool. I could watch some of his stuff. And so I did it on occasion, like in college, like just something to do, something fun, just something different to listen to. And then when I had Hazel and I was home for maternity leave and then like during COVID, it got to where like I started doing a lot more. Like it was something I would just play in the background while I was doing my work, not sessions obviously, but like my notes and stuff. And so then I started to explore different kinds of games. And I found that I actually like watching people play scary games,
Oh, yeah,
which
that's right.
I don't know what I will never play. Well, there's some games I might, some Resident Evil games I might try. I might try Last of Us if I could ever get the right console to do that because I want like the PS5 versions, but I don't have a PS5. Maybe one day I will get to that. But those games I might play, but other ones are so like scary driven and like more like actual horror games that I won't ever play them, but I'm happy to watch someone else do it. And some of them you just can't find because they're like, I don't know. So I have two people. I think I told you this when we were talking last time. I have one person who he's been doing it for a long time, so he has like a lot of followers, and he's like given like games, like the new games, like to test out. Like he got God of War Ragnarok, and he got The Last of Us 2 because they wanted him to play it early and then to get people interested in the game so that they would buy it. Which is kind of a cool thing to do. Like that's awesome. Like that's
I
what you do
know.
for a living.
How cool is that for that
Yeah,
guy or that girl? They're just
right.
like,
So he does that, and so I get those new big games that I'll never probably buy half the time because I just can't get to all the systems and stuff that you need for that. And then I have this other dude. He likes to do. I think Steam is the place you can still get games. Like people, like smaller businesses, I guess. I don't know if you call them that, but certain people that make their own video games, they're not like super well known like in like the big communities, but like within the YouTube community, they're known, and so they make their own. Like it looks like PlayStation graphic levels half the time. Like it's not like super high graphics and whatnot, but the stories are good and it's funny because they're most of the time they're scary because I don't know why they're almost always scary. Maybe it's because like the big places don't like the big systems when I don't do that as often. I don't know, but a lot of them are horror games and they're actually really good and they make me laugh because the person reacts and then I react and then it's funny. I don't know why. It's crazy that I got interested in that, but that's just what I've attached to. I haven't done it a lot lately. I've been more interested in music, so it kind of like comes and goes in waves where I'm like
okay.
interested in that and then I lose interest in that. Um, and sometimes it's like not a horror game; it's like a Batman game because I like Batman. Like I'm kind of a nerd with superhero stuff,
Oh, everybody
and
is.
right. So sometimes I'll watch those games, things that I've already played, and I'll just listen to it because it's like I'm getting like that time, but I'm not actually spending the time doing it because I don't have the time to do it half the time anymore. So it's an interesting thing that I do for fun.
Well, I am obsessed with YouTube. So I totally get it. I watch YouTube every single day.
Yeah.
So, do you like do you watch um like you said you watch two guys, so I'm sure you just kind of like flipping back and forth, but do you like look for horror, or I guess like when you're watching and it's a horror movie, are they like going down a hallway or something and you're kind of like there's a suspense that builds up, and then when the actual scary thing happens, are you more interested in what's happening in the video game or their reaction and the way they're talking about it?
It's kind of both. Like
Okay.
initially it was just the reaction, but I get very interested in stories too. Like I don't know, like I just get very, I like to know what's happening. And so as I started doing it more, it got to where it's not just the jump scare of the guy getting freaked out or the suspense, because there's like the suspense building where it's like eerie, 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 and then boom, jump scare, and then there's just like jump scare, jump scare, jump scare, like constant like scaring. Just depends on what the person that made it decided to do. But it got from where it wasn't just that and to where I wanted to know what was happening, because the stories are honestly very good. There's like mystery sometimes, or it's like about deep rooted feelings that are coming out through the horror game, or like trauma. Like there's lots of different things. So some of it kind of relates to what I do, but it's in a different style that is fictional, not realistic, and come and just told in a different way. So I get it, but then it doesn't send me back to like work mode, because like you talked about, you're alone when you work, but you're working, so it's not really self-care because you're technically doing something. And so for me, if I'm learning about therapy or reading about therapy, I'm working because I'm in therapy mode. But I still like to know about, I still like hearing about trauma, or like learning about, like it's something I enjoy learning and hearing. So in a video game, it's different because it's a fun story, it's made up, and it creates a different reaction than my job. Which, so it's kind of an odd way to look at it, but and so and so depending on which one I'm watching, one of them is very reactive, the other one not so much. So it depends on what I'm wanting. Do I want someone who is hilariously reactive and talks about it a whole bunch, or do I want someone that's a little more low key and I can watch the story more easily? So
Okay. I love that. Do they do lives?
one of them does, but I don't. That's like on Twitch, I think, is that what it's called? Some of them do. I mean, YouTube does live streams, but both of them are pretty open about YouTube's rules and whatnot, and how they don't necessarily always work well with it. They have a lot of guidelines and junk. So one of them doesn't do it at all. He also makes mistakes a lot and has hard times getting through spots, so he likes to edit out that stuff so we don't have to watch him struggle. And the other one, he does Twitch, and I think he records his stuff on Twitch and then sometimes uploads it, or he'll record separate and do a different thing on that. That's where more people go to do lives, because I think you can make more money with less having to give to the company. I think YouTube does that. I don't know how it works. I'm still, they talk about it, but I don't quite get it. But
Yeah.
I don't do
YouTube
lives.
takes a cut or whatever.
Yeah, a
So
pretty decent
like
cut, I think.
I'm sure it is. Like they basically if you're doing a YouTube live, there's a chat section and like there's a guy who does a live that I watch every Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been watching him for like 4 years, and twice I have asked a question that's called a super chat, and you have to pay money for that. But
Mm.
if you pay the money, and it's like a donation basis, so you can go all the way down to $1.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually do five. And if you do a super chat, they're gonna take your money, but then your chat is highlighted and made huge. And I guess every YouTuber can handle that differently, but the guy that I watch, he reads aloud every single super chat and then he answers the question. And his lives are like 3 hours long.
Oh wow.
Um, and I don't always watch the whole thing, but if I'm asking a question, I mean, it's pretty cool because this guy has like half a million followers. He's a super subject matter expert, and he's only talking about Game of Thrones. and but like he will know anything, like anything you can think of, and it's all about the books, which are way more detailed than the movies. And you can ask him a question and he'll talk about it. He may talk about it for 10 minutes if it was a good enough question. And it's kind of
Awesome.
cool to ask a question and then this pretty famous guy in the YouTube community is just talking about your question, and he reads your name, and it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. No, that totally makes sense. The dudes I watch don't do that, but Justin used to watch um a YouTuber that did a live for things that he liked, like certain aerospace stuff and whatnot. And he got to know the community pretty well. So he would do a chat, like not a super chat or anything like that, but he would comment and other people would he talked to like people in the groups one night. He used to do that a lot. He hasn't done it as of late. He's kind of been doing other things, so he's more interested in those things. But he has like set people he likes to watch too that are more likely to do lives and stuff. But yeah, we all have like our little YouTube fixation somehow, some way.
I know. I just think it's so cool that you like to watch not just people play video games, but people play horror, scary video games.
And I won't watch a horror film. That's what's also really weird is I cannot sit and watch a scary movie, but I can watch people play video games that are scary. I think the only reason I think I can't do the movies is because movies look real, because it's like actual people. And so, and they do such a good job. Like, there is one dude sometimes I'll watch. He's not a video gamer. He does kill counts for like horror games or horror movies. And so sometimes I'll watch him because he just does snippets and like talks about, it's actually kind of cool because he'll talk about this is how they made this scene look good. This scene was like really difficult to do because of like, and it's like the old movies, like the old Texas Chainsaw or like Freddy Krueger, like the older stuff. He'll go through and be like, this is how they did this back then. This is the actor. While he's also talking about the number of kills in the horror film and ranking like, oh, this is the best one based on the graphics or the situation. This one was the worst because you didn't even see it. So it's kind of interesting how that works, but I can't actually sit down and watch the whole thing. I don't get it.
Yeah, but that is kind of interesting. I can totally picture the video you're describing, and I would be interested in that. But it is interesting that you can see those little clips, but not the whole scary movie.
Yeah, probably because it's more low key when he's just doing it, because he's talking and the suspense is not there, the music's not like
yeah,
all
they
the
kind
other
of take
things.
You out of it.
Yes, the environment that they create in the movies really drags you in, which the video games do too. But again, someone is there talking about it, which is why I say I can't probably actually play some of these games, because even though I probably could just do it and know exactly what to do, because some of them I watched so many times, I already know what's going to happen and know when the jump scares are coming. But yeah, when you're actually doing it, you feel it more because you're actually hearing everything. You're in control. And so if you panic and jump, well, you're probably going to die in the game,
yeah,
because you didn't pay attention. So yeah, I don't know. It's odd that I enjoy that, but it's something I've done for a while. And so every so often it's just nice to do just for fun.